Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with River Brown, Andrew Velez, and Joe Dehls. And this is now episode 409. In this episode, we are going to be giving our Week 3 NFL predictions, going through every single game. Of course, spending more time on some games because some games, aren't that entertaining. But last week there was a lot of upsets, so maybe this week will be the same.
I think there was eight upsets where underdogs just outright won last week. It felt crazy, and it actually was.
I was gonna say we disrespected a lot of teams last week, and a lot of those teams ended up winning.
Ravens, keep it pushing. Jesus Christ, man.
Nobody disrespected more teams than Riv.
We did the same thing with Cowboys Saints. So the Cowboys all got the Cowboys.
You disrespected the most teams. 100%. You said the Vikings had no chance. The 49ers are going to handle business and make a statement.
Yeah.
And then you said the Falcons got no chance.
You're a liar.
As long as you pick the same team, too.
That's what a commenter said.
You lied. You lied.
I got the clip.
You lied. You know why? You know why you lied? I'm gonna tell you exactly why you lied. Because we had an episode on Sunday night. You asked me, Riv, how do you feel about Monday's game because of all the upsets? And I told you to your face, I actually feel nervous as hell because all the good teams lost on Sunday.
After the upsets, I'm talking about before on our Pick'em episode.
It doesn't matter. What happened on Sunday? Sunday night matters.
Okay, your most recent comment when you seen the abnormality of everything that happened in week 2, you're like, okay, now I'm worried.
Yes.
But last week on the Pick'em episodes, you wrote the Falcons off. We all did.
I mean, I'm gonna write every team off against Philly. That's just me. So.
Okay. I mean,
what'd you have to eat there, bro?
I had some wings.
Oh, nice. Where from?
My grandma bought them.
Oh, okay.
I just put them in the air fryer.
You feel very confident you're facing the Saints this week.
I feel confident for 17 weeks with my Eagles, no matter who we play. Okay. That's called the fan. A real fan.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
No, that's what the fuck I'm talking
It's called the fan. I lock in at any moment. Who the fuck is calling?
Yeah, that's cap.
Someone's phone's ringing.
Yeah, that's me.
That's cap. Someone get footage of Riv after the 49ers blowout loss, and then every game after that, the collapse.
After we lost, yeah, but before the game, I talked my shit. We just got our ass whipped. There's nothing I could do about that.
Nothing you can do about that. You get your ass whipped, you get your ass whipped.
They just put belt the asses in.
I'll give you something. You did pick the Eagles against the Bucs.
I picked them every week. I picked them every single week last year.
It hurt me to take the Bucs against them.
You're a Hurts guy.
11-8 record. Not great, not bad.
It should have been a lot better.
Is it 11-8? No, 11-7. They won 11 games, right?
Season, you're saying?
Yeah,
with the playoff loss.
Yeah.
11-7, not bad.
They don't play. No.
They played 18 games last year.
Oh, no, let's get a bye? Oh, yeah.
Playoff
18 weeks, but they played 18 games.
Should have been like 13 and like 5.
Y'all chucked a few.
Yeah,
the Seattle game was an all-time.
The Giants game we lost.
The Cardinals.
Dallas lost the Cardinals too.
You guys just broken last year, man.
Yeah,
Well, the teams you did face in the second half of the year, it's not like
we lost
you weren't expecting the Eagles to win.
They also lost 3 games last year when they were winning with under 2 minutes.
Which one was those?
So their defense fucking blew.
Seattle
Still does.
That Seattle game was nasty.
Yeah, Jalen choke. That's what he does. He did it in Monday Night Football against the Falcons, too.
You think he choked that game?
Well, he definitely threw a game-losing interception.
Choke? Do you know what choke
Well,
means?
the last drive he choked.
That's not choking.
So Kevin Durant choked in Game 7 versus the Bucks?
0-for-6? Nah, he was terrible.
I never said he choked. I don't think
that
he did.
0-for-6 in
definitely said
OT,
he
you did
choked.
say he choked. And low-key, he might have.
Choked?
He might have.
He didn't score in OT, right?
He didn't.
No. And
It'd
Jalen
be
Hurts threw the
different,
game. And Jalen Hurts threw a game-losing interception
Jalen Hurts was down.
by 1 point.
I think
If he picks up 15 yards, Jake Elliott can hit the game-winning
I
field
really
goal.
think you just hate him.
No,
and
he
the fact
does hate
that you
him.
just
It's
hate
fine.
him. And
You
say-
really think that Jalen Hurts didn't have a big role in a loss?
All the numbers he listed out for Geno,
No, I don't think he had a big.
Jalen Hurts got the same numbers Geno got, if not better, all
I
advanced
don't even
numbers.
care
and
about
he's comfortably
Geno.
top
Respectfully
10.
to Geno. Like, it ain't even about
No,
Geno.
I'm just saying he just doesn't like Jalen Hurts, which is
I
fine.
don't see how you
Hurts
watch
is not
that
a better
game.
quarterback than Geno Smith.
You could definitely make the argument.
What skill does Jalen
What
Hurts
did this
have
shit
at
even-
quarterback and is better than Geno?
Runner. Oh,
He's definitely a better scrambler.
That's
Geno's a good quarterback, but I think Hurts' his deep ball is up there with anyone's in the league. I think
Geno was better last
Geno
year,
probably reads the field better. I don't know, but he's definitely he's such a better scrambler that it makes up
I don't see
for
how
all
you watch
that
that
shit.
game and think Hurts choked. I thought you played great.
It's the
Well, he
playmaking
choked on the
aspect.
last drive. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
The play before or the
guess-
drive before.
I guess, yeah.
I'll be honest. Who choked that game?
Saquon.
Barkley.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
Saquon Barkley dropped it. I also think that Nick Sirianni not going for it on 4th and 3.
For sure.
If you kick the field goal, you're up 6, and the Falcons, if they score, they can go up 1 point with the field
I
goal.
think Hurts
That's
gets
why
the last bit of the blame.
I thought Nick Sirianni should have went for it on 4th
I
down.
think number
anyway.
1 was Saquon. Number 2 is the defense. Number 3 is Jalen Hurts.
No, I put Nick before Hurts.
Sirianni?
honestly. Yeah.
I think Nick Sirianni was was one of the biggest reasons they lost.
Yeah, I think him and Saquon are up there.
I'll put Hurts fourth. I got no problem putting him fourth.
I just don't. I just think for Nick, you have to pick a passion. Do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to be passive? But if you're gonna go one way, pick it.
To Nick's defense, though, the defense up to that point was playing decent. Like they just got a big stop on fourth down.
But all game, when you had third and short, fourth and short, when you ran the ball, it was a success.
Yeah.
Every single time you did it.
Coaches tense up. Like when it's fourth and two in the third quarter, it's not a big deal.
You just seen Saquon drop it, fine, okay. Run that shit again. Like do the exact same thing or run a play. Like it's gonna work. Yeah. But you lost me with that one. But like I tweeted this.
I just said he choked on the last drive.
I'm not entertaining nobody who thinks Hurts
definitely
lost
made a bad decision.
So you don't think on that last drive after Hurts completed that pass to Dallas Goedert, he was about to drive down the field and put you guys in field goal position to win the game?
For sure.
There was a timeout left.
I thought that.
Okay, if Jalen Hurts had completed that game-winning drive, you guys would be up here glazing Hurts. But since he threw an interception, it's not his fault. Come on, what are we talking about?
But I think the same way how you say we're glazing him. If he didn't throw that interception, you probably were just going to sit here and not give him the props.
It was all right. He was a good scrambler. He wasn't that good of a passer, but good win.
But the fact that he
when have
threw
you
the
ever given
interception,
Jalen Hurts credit? You didn't give him credit after the Super Bowl. After the Super Bowl, when he had the game of his life, you didn't give him credit.
Lose the
so
game.
when are you going to give him credit?
Do you think he played?
Are you ever is there ever going to be a time Jalen Hurts go out there and do something? You'd be like, good job, Jalen Hurts.
Is there ever going to be a time where you actually hold him accountable? Every issue that he had last year, you blamed on everything else but him. And I do think
he's been pretty fantastic this year with Kellen Moore.
Finish. I think the play calling last year was terrible, but in his breakout season, he was not good against the blitz. He was 23rd in passer rating against the blitz. Okay, it's only a 2-game sample size. He's been better. Yeah, that's true. But
the Geno 2-game sample size made him a comfortable top 10 quarterback because he wasn't a top 10 quarterback week 17 last year.
Yeah, to me, I always said Geno Smith was underrated.
You were never jacking that last year.
When we made an underrated quarterback list, I put Geno Smith in my top 10.
Top 10.
You definitely didn't have Geno in your top 10. And this past week, you just put Geno above Jordan Love and Dak Prescott.
So I think there's a lack of consistency with you because not with you. Sorry, I'm pointing this way, but
I'm barely talking.
I'm talking to Dehls. I'm with you. There's an inconsistency with you because in the Super Bowl when he had in the first half a fumble that led to 7 points for the Chiefs, you chalked it up like it didn't matter because it happened in the first half. Now Jalen Hurts on Monday Night Football throws an interception to lose the game, and you still don't think that matters. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
For sure,
Come on,
it definitely matters.
I don't think that's the thing.
It matters
because it doesn't. The Jalen Hurts don't matter because you never give him credit. So I'm not going to sit here and blame him because there's no argument here. There's no argument here.
Both can be true. You don't give him credit at the same time. Jalen sold. That was a bad throw.
It was a bad throw, but Saquon catches the fucking ball.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly with you.
That's not the reason we lost the
game. It's not the reason you
it's
lost.
Not.
No, do you think that's the reason they lost? I'm saying no, probably.
Plays
for Jalen Hurts INT. That's not why they lost. Of course not.
It's not the reason.
But it's a mistake.
They lost.
It's a blemish.
But it's one of the reasons they lost.
You have to accept that was a blemish. That was a mistake.
He was one of the 4 reasons why they lost.
But if Saquon catches the ball, we don't speak on it. It don't happen.
But
Pandora is so funny.
If Nick goes for it again on 4th down, we don't speak on it. It doesn't happen.
That's a tough decision.
Gave up 70 yards in 3 plays. But the highlight is, Jalen threw an interception.
Play devil's advocate. They go for it on 4th and 3. They don't get it. You just saw the way that they marched down the field after kicking a field goal. Why can't they do the exact same thing?
But also,
you know what I mean? That's why it's tough.
He definitely had enough time to lead that drive. They were only 15 yards away
on that
from the field goal.
On that play, pressure's in his face. He has to make a quick decision. It was a bad decision, but game's so quick. What do you do there?
That was a terrible.
If Hurts is as good as I think he is, he should make that play.
No, but wait, just throw it on his body.
It just feels like
no, I'm saying no. It was a bad decision. It was a bad throw and a bad decision, regardless. Because Jesse Bates read that the entire.
But the guy's coming untouched off the edge is what I mean. He's completely right in Jalen's face.
But it just feels like to me, you just blame him more than anybody else.
I never said that.
I seen your tweets, brother. I seen all that was going on. I just didn't entertain him.
Nah, not at all.
I'm in a new evolved state, but I seen your tweets. It just felt like to me, you did a lot of yapping about Jalen Hurts and you said nothing else about other.
What was you waiting? Entire game.
He was cooking.
Yeah, he was amazing.
He did amazing.
Yeah, I didn't say
on the ground he looked
like
beautiful.
Bro, he was changing the game. So like, he fucked up. He made one bad play. It is what it is. But
no, he was playing exceptional. He was playing, especially as a scrambler. I thought his passing, especially in the first couple drives, it was definitely limited the Eagles. Yeah. I also wanted to mention something that I caught from the game. You notice how Covey played much better than Jahan Dotson?
Well, he was just getting like screen passes and
them
shit.
screen passes.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson, I think, is done.
He had
bro.
6 catches for like 23 yards.
Yeah, that's just another conversation.
stink.
I'm not saying they lost because of Hurts. Obviously, if Saquon catches the ball, they win. He could even walk in for a touchdown.
No,
and I think Nick Sirianni's decision making not to go for it, I thought that also was a dumb decision. I thought the defense also letting up a 70-yard drive in a minute and 10 seconds.
I never said Hurts was blameless. I just said in that totem pole between the defense, Sirianni, Saquon, he's last on that list.
And I never said he was first. I just said he choked.
You've just been loudest about it.
I just said he choked.
Let's get into the pick 'em, man. Get into the pick 'em.
Okay, before we get into that, we got a prize pick segment. So last week we had a prize pick segment for week 2 of the NFL games, and we went 4 for 4 on our picks, and we cashed out. And this week we're gonna do the same. So prize picks, you can use code PAS. You play $5, you get $50. Drew, what's your play of the week?
It's got to be Tony Pollard versus the Green Bay Packers, 59.5. We're going more for the fact the last 2 weeks he's played just over 60% of snaps, and week 1 had over 80 rushing, week 2 had over 60. The Packers have given up some of the most rushing yards to players. Jonathan Taylor went berserk in very limited opportunity, and then week 1 obviously we saw Saquon go for over 103 touchdowns. I think regardless we're going to see Tennessee stay true to the run. 59.5, smash the more.
What's yours, Riff?
So I had to look at it just to make sure I get the number right for sure. Listen, I'm going DJ Moore, more than 62.5. I think my brother is back. They're playing the Colts. The Colts are not good defense at all. Their secondary is pretty either banged up or just they don't have the talent. And I think this defense is kind of the wake-up call that Caleb leads, or kind of the revival, just a game where he could bounce back, have his big game. Watching the All-22 film, it looks like him and DJ, like I mentioned in the last show, just aren't on the same page. DJ definitely looks a little bit sluggish coming out on his breaks. I need my brother to lock in, and I need Caleb to lock in and make some better passes. I think both of them just need all week, hopefully, practice together, get that continuity together, get that chemistry together. I think he has a big game, so I'm going DJ Moore than 62.5.
I'm going Brian Robinson, more than 52.5 rushing yards. I think he's one of the best young running backs in the league. He's top 5 in yards after contact this year. He had a breakout game, the best game of his career against the New York Giants. And we know the Cincinnati Bengals don't have a good run defense. So I think Brian Robinson should hit this number. And also, you guys can still play on prospects and get Caleb Williams for half yard. Is a win. If he gets 1 yard, he wins. It's just like that. It's easy. So if you guys want to play, use code PAS. It helps the podcast. And let's try to go 2 for 2 on
I know
these.
we cooked last week. I wish we would have got John's pick for this one because obviously he was a part of our win last week. But they did the Caleb 0.5 for last week versus the Texans. I think they just got something going with Caleb right now. To me, part of me wants them not to do it because maybe they're screwing him up. They're like, hey, get 1 yard. Now we're struggling.
It's going to be going on until September 29th, until the end of September.
Oh, every single week we're getting Caleb?
It's free square September.
Tough.
So that's what it is. And maybe they have the same thing for October. So John is not here. He had class. We were supposed to record this episode yesterday. Riv had a back to school night for his kids, so we couldn't. But we're here. It's like an hour and a half before Thursday Night Football. The Jets and Patriots play.
Yep.
Yes.
8 years, guys.
He already made his pick.
You think?
I did.
Wait, 8 years what?
8 years that you guys haven't beat them on your home turf.
Oh, okay.
You think they'll have a free pick in NBA in February?
They might. I mean, Prospects always has free squares.
Exactly.
They always got free squares.
Who do you think it might be?
John Moran.
LeBron? KD? You know, just some names to throw out there. Price picks lock in. Lock in. Let's do it, though. Jets, Pats haven't won in 8 years, you said.
On their home turf.
On their home
Jets
turf.
have not won on
you
their
see
home
my
turf.
wall.
You see my wall. This shit's personal.
You know, it's hilarious when I think about that moment because
that video is so funny.
Dehls told me that after that moment, he thought his boss thought that Dave Portnoy was about to sign me to Barstool or something after that video.
I remember that.
Yeah,
because that went viral. Dave
Portnoy literally
retweeted
put the video up.
Yeah, he retweeted it or something.
Yeah, no, I'm a changed man.
Top 5,
I don't think I'm gonna do that again. It was embarrassing.
We got smoked in that game, right?
Was it embarrassing or was it amazing?
It was both. It was definitely embarrassing.
I think they got their ass whipped.
It does suck that everyone loves the videos for all the wrong reasons, but
It's a great video.
it's such a good video.
No, for real.
Because I was jacking it. I was like, yeah, we're about to smoke them.
You know,
You feel that same way tonight, though, I guess.
Easy.
Interesting.
When does he never?
The Jets are favored in this game, 6.5.
That's a strong line.
I know Riv's going with the Jets. I know Doug's going with the Jets. Drew and I had a conversation before last time's pod about this game, And I'm going to go with the Jets too. And I know Drew's going to go with the Patriots. And I know why he's going to go, but you explain it.
Of course, listen, your guys' rush defense is sketchy as sin. Last week we saw Tony Pollard, although was held to under 4 yards a carry, he had himself a pretty productive day, not just as a rusher, but also as a receiving back on top of that. You guys also went against Will Levis. Nobody's moved by that. Of course, Jacoby Brissett, although he's not the greatest quarterback, I still would say he's a better quarterback than Will Levis where we currently stand. And I look at what Ramondre Stevenson has been able to do so far this season. He is and has been a machine. That offensive line in front of him is not the greatest and it is banged up to hell, but there's no other running back in the league that has more yards per after contact than they do regular rushing yards. Ramondre Stevenson has been on a mission, and I'm anticipating that he goes and he leaves his mark on this game. But on top of it, it's going to be more difficult for the Jets to score against the Patriots defense, especially with the way that I've seen you guys play offense. Breece Hall, of course, is going to be at the front and center of things, I assume, and Garrett Wilson. That matchup with Christian Gonzalez and Garrett Wilson is going to be must-watch television. But I still see the way that Christian Gonzalez, especially when he's matched up against the cream of the crop wide receivers, he's gotten the upper hand more often than not. So in this matchup, if you take Garrett Wilson out there, now we see week 2 of Mike Williams. How is he going to look? He had a nice catch against Tennessee. Of course, you do have Lazard, but I do have my concerns about this offense. It's one of those that it needs to show me before I get moved by it. And you're going up against an amazing defense in the Patriots. That reason, I'm taking the Patriots. Although, what did almost hinder me from doing it, they were in overtime, short week. They could be a little bit tired. That's why the 6.5 line to me is I would guarantee take the Patriots there. But I can understand where the Jets definitely are a little bit more well-rested, even though marginal, and they're on their home court.
I think you could make the argument about the Jets offense. It hasn't looked great. EPA loves us. Top 10 unit according to EPA in this offense. EPA loves the Jets offense.
And what is it? One of the few teams that have 5 touchdowns, right?
5+ touchdowns through 2 weeks. Of course, a little bit of that came in some garbage time. Shout out to Tyrod Taylor. But I think you make the same argument for the Pats, right? I think this New England's offense, it's, of course, led by Ramondre Stevenson. You look at the Jets corners with Sauce, DJ Reed, who's a bit banged up, and Michael Carter. This is a team that should be able to shut down anything New England wants to do. So you have the ability to really load up the box and do your best to slow down Ramondre Stevenson. The Jets, as you said, have struggled as a run unit this season. A lot of that's coming from Jordan Mason in week 1, who I think we've all seen now. He's a great running back, right? This isn't just the Jets defense sucks. He's a really good running back that did a better job against Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, who didn't see the field as much. But I think if you have questions for the Jets offense, you have to have the same questions for the Patriots offense. You look at one of the touchdowns that the Titans had. I mean, fucking Calvin Ridley had maybe one of the best catches of the season so far. It was amazing. Where it's over the safety. I forgot which safety it was. Was it Tony Adams or I don't remember. Or Chuck Clark. And Sauce Gardner was right there, and the ball was just on the floor, and it was like a one-handed crazy catch. I don't know if the Patriots have any receivers can do that, but I think the one thing you have to be thankful for if you're New England is Jacoby Brissett doesn't turn over the ball, right? Will Levis had multiple turnovers, took a bunch of sacks, so they're going to do a better job taking care of the ball. You win the turnover battle, you have a better chance of coming out on top. But I think this Jets team is just better than New England right now, and although there's questions about the run defense, I think you could just sell against the run and really just play man-to-man, load up the box, and if Jalen Polk beats you over the top, he beats you.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I think that the Jets are just a better team. It's as simple as that. The Patriots have an elite defense, and I want to give them a lot of credit because they beat the Bengals in week 1, and they went to overtime with the Seahawks in week 2, and they could have won that game. I think the difference between Will Levis and Jacoby Brissett as quarterbacks is fair. That's valid. But Will Levis also has more at his disposal to work with on the outside with Calvin Ridley and with DeAndre Hopkins. And Jacoby Brissett doesn't have the same type of weapons. So I think that the Jets have an advantage here where they can stack the box, like Dehls said, and it can neutralize the run. Ramondre Stevenson, on 60% of his carries this year, he is getting contacted at or behind the line of scrimmage, which means that this offensive line is not getting that much push, not creating much holes for him. A lot of his production has come off of his own greatness. And if the Jets can tackle well, and if the Jets can just be disciplined with their fundamentals, then I feel like we can stop this Patriots rushing attack. And if that happens, I don't see how the Patriots are going to score more than us. And I do think that we're getting underrated offensively. Aaron Rodgers each week is getting better. Versus San Fran, you could tell the rust was there. Versus the Titans, he looked awesome. There are still some plays where he's not being aggressive enough, but I think that'll come with time and he'll extend more plays more often. But Aaron Rodgers has been uber efficient. He makes timely plays. We saw the deep pass to Garrett Wilson. We saw the touchdown to Breece Hall. We saw the jump ball to Mike Williams. And that's something that the Jets haven't had in a while, watching that. And that's just been beautiful to watch. I think this is going to be a great Aaron Rodgers game. And by the time this podcast is out, we're going to see if that's true or not.
Why do we have 3 0-2 teams up there? Why do we have Joe Burrow up there?
Lock in on the conversation.
I was just staring at it the whole time. We have AR up there, Joe Burrow up there.
AR looks lit.
I mean, I guess it just I felt like Joe Burrow could have subbed out for somebody else.
Some teams that are due for a win.
Yeah. Okay. I'm kind of on the same page as Joel here. I do think the Jets are just more talented. New England has given some teams some fights though. That defense
Seattle's
has been
more talented.
able cook.
Cincinnati's more talented.
Seattle won. Cincinnati.
Seattle hurt.
Cincinnati would have won a second and drop a touchdown.
And the Patriots would have won if the guy makes the field goal.
What if Seattle's just mid?
Or the Seahawks go for it on 4th down and they get it because Geno Smith is playing.
I mean, they did. Denver was kind of a dogfight, and then they went to overtime with New England.
Geno's doing too much. What if he gasses out late in the year?
He is fine.
All right,
Top 10.
I do think Jets and Patriots is just a talent discrepancy. I think the New England Patriots defense is elite. I think they'll make this game a lot closer to what people may think it is. I think really this is a tale of two great defenses going at it, but I just trust the Jets offense a little bit more. It's pretty simple for me. I think Aaron will be safe with the ball. He always has been for his career. You have Garrett on that side. You have Breece Hall on that side. I think that's more than enough to get it done against New England. But New England is going to make it a fight.
It's going to be
they
muddy.
do have that division holding over them. Like they haven't beaten them in 8 years on their home turf. You know,
Boogeyman's gone though.
Them, once?
Once.
Like, anyway.
Boogeyman we thought was
gone.
gone, but they still didn't beat Mac Jones.
We beat them week 18
What?
No, I'm not talking Tom.
Years.
I'm not. No, on their home turf.
at the Jets home.
We beat them in New England.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
I'm saying, Bill. Bill's gone.
I feel like both of them are like the boogeyman.
No, OD,
Yeah, both
for
of
sure.
them.
Brady for sure.
Yeah, but I got the Jets. I think this should be a comfortable. Like we said before, this slate right here should be the walk-in easies for the Jets. They just continue to make shit harder for themselves.
The next game, the Bears versus Colts.
1-1.
Should have been.
That was an ugly game versus
That
Tennessee.
game was ugly as hell.
Tennessee's a decent team.
They are decent.
They are.
On the road.
Hey, listen, a win is a win. It's it.
Doesn't
Simple
matter
as
if
that.
you win
I
by a
fucking
second or
agree
a
with
mile.
you.
It
Winning
doesn't
is
matter.
winning.
Listen,
Winning is winning.
especially with these games early in the season, everybody's playing with their heart. Listen, it's fine.
Short
We
week
just got to
too.
win.
Monday to Sunday.
Like you guys said, we're going to be testing when we face the Buffalo Bills. That's the game that we measure
That's
ourselves by.
when we play Minnesota.
But these games, we just got to get by. We just got to win, especially
No, it's no
building
lie,
up
though.
chemistry.
Minnesota's a good team.
No, I'm saying, yeah, like God
You're
bless.
right, yeah.
No,
No,
the
you're
shit Brian
absolutely
Flores
right.
is gonna do to
I'm
you
gonna be
guys.
honest. I'm taking Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh, Jettas versus Sauce.
Hey, listen, Minnesota's
I
real.
can't wait for him to expose him.
He's gonna have a cool 6 for 60.
No, he's gonna have like a 9 for 120.
Maybe he'll have 6 or 60. He's scoring.
Maybe.
Fucking scoring. He's getting 100.
All right, next game.
Bears versus Colts. The Colts are favored -1.5. They are at home. And I put this tweet out. I think this is Caleb Williams' breakout game. 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. The only thing that is worrying me right now about this game, and I'm just going to name this stat, and then any of you guys can piggyback with your pick. So Sharp Analytics posted this on Twitter. He posted that Caleb Williams versus cover 3, 27th in EPA, 28th in success rate, 31st in yards per attempt on 28 dropbacks. Now, the Colts, Gus Bradley is known for using cover 3. They play cover 3 at the number 1 highest rate in the NFL, 67% of dropbacks. I think if the Bears don't have success against this Colts defense, though, regardless of the type of scheme they play, I think it's a coordinator failure. It's a play calling failure because the Colts just lost to Forrest Buckner. He's on IR. We just saw the Packers rush for 200-plus yards on them in the first half, and their pass rush is pretty non-existent, and then their secondary is also depleted. DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, they should all have blow-up
Is
games.
Keenan
Like
playing?
this is Caleb
right now.
Williams and the Bears offense get right game. And if they don't get right and they struggle, it's going to be concerning for the entire season. And this is the game that if they struggle, you're really out on them for the entire year.
I really liked what I've seen from Chicago's defense against the Texans. Like, I've really genuinely enjoyed watching that defense give them a fight. You know, especially Houston, they haven't really got off to the greatest start offensively. So they're trying to figure some things out. But just in terms of getting to C.J. Stroud, making him slightly uncomfortable, I mean, aside from just him and Nico Collins being great, Stephon Diggs also making a catch on the sideline. Like, aside from their talent just overwhelmingly being great, I thought the Chicago defense really put up a fight. I think they'll be able to contain AR. AR really is just too hit or miss at this point. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get from him. And I think with it was a funny stat I seen from week 2 that his team, the Colts, had the highest drop percentage by wide receivers. So that's definitely a cause for concern. But like you mentioned, Chicago's offense, I think they'll be able to get going this game. I think they'll be able to get it rolling. Colts defense just too banged up, and even when they weren't banged up, they're just not that good. They don't just have the talent on that end. So I got Chicago in this one. I think I don't want to say comfortably, but there's definitely a get-right game for sure.
I feel extremely similarly. I look at what the defense was able to do against Houston, really limit their passing offense, and the way that Anthony Richardson has been incapable of keeping the ball on the Colts side, on top of the fact that the Colts defense is Swiss cheese. This could be DeAndre Swift's breakout game. They've been getting him involved a lot in the offense, or trying to at least, although it hasn't led to productive plays. They're still trying to make it a point of emphasis to keep him heavily involved in the game. Hopefully Keenan Allen plays. He is questionable right now, but I am anticipating this to be Chicago's best looking offensive performance. On the defensive side, I think Anthony Richardson can go and have himself a great game, but at the same time, Chicago's defense has shown me a lot in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback, really making the quarterback uncomfortable. And if AR obviously goes and extend plays, that can be a positive for the Colts. However, I just trust the foundation of what Chicago has going for them right now. Been in 2 really good games to start the season against the Titans and against a really good team in the Houston Texans. I think that the Bears are just a better team than the Colts right now. I'll lean Chicago.
Colts have allowed 478 rushing yards through 2 games, the most since 1978. DeForest Buckner just got placed on IR as well. I agree. I think this could be DeAndre Swift's breakout game. By breakout, it means he could average 4 yards a carry, not 2 yards a carry. Man. What he's been doing.
You're a Khalil Herbert guy, aren't you?
I like him. DeAndre Swift is not good.
Oh shit.
I think Khalil Herbert.
I'm starting to see the light. It's over.
Yeah, Khalil Herbert should have he should be upset because DeAndre Swift got his money, so you give him the first chance. But if he keeps looking like this, Khalil Herbert has to get some playing time there. But I think the Caleb Williams breakout game is definitely in the cards here going up against this Colts defense. And I think more than anything, you just trust the floor of Chicago. You've seen that defense already in week 1 win you a game with Caleb Williams throwing less than 100 yards. And even week 2 against the Houston Texans on the road, a team we all think are real contenders in the AFC, you were in that game till the very, very end. So I think the floor you get with Chicago is very safe. With the Colts, it feels like this defense is going to get destroyed by the run and most weeks, depending on the quarterback, through the air. So you need Anthony Richardson to have those high games. You mentioned it, Riff. He's going to have high highs. He's going to have low lows. So he's probably going to have a couple of interceptions in this game. I think he could take a couple of sacks. So I think, mix just the really solid foundation you got with Chicago's floor, plus the, a really exposable defense. I like Chicago.
What lost me last game, though, is because we were having this conversation earlier. Shane Steichen came out. He said that he wanted to give AR a chance in this game in the 4th quarter. And he wanted to make it to where he wanted to pass the ball more. So he essentially took JT out. Essentially took JT out the game. And it really boggled my mind because JT's probably your best player on the team. And he was having a great game. So I really hope that JT, I don't care what's going on, you do not freeze JT out this game. He's your best player right now. He's your most talented player right now. And AR is just not ready to be a consistent passer at this moment. You need that run game.
Yeah, 12 carries, 103 yards.
It's going nuts.
And then 4th quarter just said, nah.
He played 52% of snaps.
And I get it. AR needs reps. He hasn't played a shit ton at all in this league, or even in college. But at the same time, you want a semi-balance. You want not 34 attempts, maybe like 29, 28.
And that's the weakness of the Bears. You don't want to pass the ball on them. They got a great secondary. Up front, that's where they're weak, especially in the IDL. Darrell Taylor on the edge has been really good for the Bears, though. He's been a good complement to Montez Sweat on pass rush and downs. So I want to shout him out. The Eagles versus the Saints. The Saints are 2.5-point favorites at home.
Oh, man. What do we do?
Are we all taking New Orleans?
No.
All righty.
We had to know.
I guess we're going to have a conversation.
Listen, Riv, I want to tell you this. The Eagles are cooked this year. I want to tell you this. Beginning now.
Are the Cowboys cooked?
No, not yet.
In
the playoffs, they are. Not regular season.
If the Eagles are cooked, the Cowboys are just as cooked, brother.
Reed Blankenship,
the Jets and Patriots game.
After the Monday Night Football game, Reed Blankenship went into the locker room. He was asked about what happened after the game. Like, did anybody give a speech and shit? And Reed Blankenship said, Jalen Hurts did. This is like a player-led team. I don't think they like Nick Sirianni. I think Nick Sirianni is not a very good coach. Mm-hmm. The defense is terrible. You know
terrible that is not.
The Eagles
terrible.
The Eagles haven't had a sack from the edge rusher position in 6
pass
straight
rush is
games.
terrible.
Jalen Carter has not been good this year, and he's already getting into disciplinary stuff right now with the team. So that's
hilarious to bring that up. He sat like the first quarter, first drive, right?
No, yeah, but right now the Eagles are 31st in rush EPA. They're 27th in rush success rate. Eagles are 7th in defensive line pressure as a whole, so that's a good thing. But they only have 2 sacks on 34 pressures. They're not able to finish plays at all.
Time out,
and
time out,
Kirk
though. You
Cousins,
love pressures.
You're a pressures over sacks guy.
I think that comes to the mean
you
a
have
little
to
bit
finish.
there.
You have to finish the plays.
I think that comes to the mean a little bit.
Bryce Huff. Well,
no, he's nuts. He's a little
you
nuts.
have to finish the plays. Nuts. You have 2 sacks and 34 pressures.
But the fact that you have 34 pressure should show you that you're able to get to the quarterback.
Versus the Falcons,
over a 17-game season, you should be able to get
versus the Falcons, they got 1 quarterback hit. That was from Milton Williams. And schematically, Vic Fangio was just not using these players correctly.
We had a sack that game.
I was going to say,
from Milton Williams. That was the
so
one
they got
sack.
all those pressures against Jordan Love?
That was the 1 quarterback hit against Kirk Cousins. The Eagles defensively, Vic Fangio, because they play light in the box. That's how they stop explosives, but they can't stop explosives in the pass either. Their run defense is one of the worst in the NFL right now.
It is.
Zach Bond was a tackling machine in week 1. I think week 2 shed some true colors on him that he actually was like missing assignments left and right in his run fits. Nakobe Dean has been terrible in coverage, and Vic Fangio has been using Milton Williams to eat up blocks, and he's 290 pounds, and you want Jordan Davis to be in that role or Jalen Carter, but Jalen Carter missed the first drive because the Eagles disciplined him. Right now,
you know what it was? Why?
See, he was late to a team event.
Okay.
Right now, the Eagles defense is going to be one of the worst in the league. You're facing one of the most explosive offenses in the league that they use heavier personnel, they play action, they pass out of it, and you cannot guard the speed of these Saints wide receivers. The Saints are going to light the Eagles up. And defensively, no A.J. Brown against this secondary. Marshawn Lattimore might play. It's going to get ugly. It might get as ugly as it did against the Cowboys.
You said a lot of good things, and, you're entitled to your opinion.
There was a lot of good things in there.
Yeah, and, if you just specifically talk about the Saints game, you said a lot of great things. That all makes sense.
He went full season out.
Anything after that, I'm sorry, I just cannot take you serious. And I want to. I genuinely want to sit up here and listen to you speak truth.
Be 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah, but it's it's just too much. What's
wrong with you, Joel?
Just blind faith.
It's just too much.
Not.
It's too much bias into it. That's why when you talk about the Eagles,
what's your reason for picking the Eagles over the Saints?
No. If you see, and this is what kills me. If you listen to me, what I said was everything you said about the Saints is a fact. All of that makes sense. The outlook on the season thing, I just can't take serious.
Riv, you don't have a good pass rush. You don't have a good run defense.
Well, again, 34
and you don't
pressures,
have a good
they just
head
got to
coach.
finish jobs.
Brother,
Their run defense is one of the
run
worst in
defense
the NFL.
is bad. I agree.
Yes,
I agree.
I'm with you. It's been bad.
You think this is a serious team?
It's been 2 weeks, Joel. Dallas just
They
got
were
their
a play
ass
away
whipped,
from
and you're
2-0.
still glazing them.
And they choked.
Cincinnati Bengals are 0-2, and you're still glazing them.
They're better than the
Like, what are you
Eagles.
talking? You just don't make any sense when you speak
They're
about the
better
Eagles.
than the Eagles.
You sit here and say they're cooked. The Bengals also the fucking Patriots, and you didn't say a word about them.
Patriots
And
beat
then
the
you sat
Eagles.
here, you glazed up because they looked great against the Chiefs. They almost won the game. I'm not like this shit don't make sense when you speak sometimes about my Eagles. It doesn't. It's a clear hate. It's clear bias. I cannot entertain it.
What
And
makes
you see
sense
how
is
it makes-
you're gonna lose
You
this
see what it
weekend.
does?
Entertaining.
That's what makes sense.
It makes me angry.
You're
And I don't
entertaining
want
it.
to be angry up here.
Keep going.
So I cannot entertain it. Speaking on
So
the
why
Saints,
are you taking the Eagles?
because I am a diehard, nonstop. I will
taking them
pick
17 times this year.
17 times. And
Make
that
the
will
playoffs
never
18,
change.
19,
That
20.
will never change.
But what we're playing for that, bro.
This is the one where I'm not.
All right.
This is the one where I'm not. I'm taking my team. I'm riding my team.
The
till
Eagles are
wheels fall off.
allowing 6.4 yards per carry. I actually got a score prediction for this game.
What's the score? prediction?
35-17.
You tried that
Saints.
before. It didn't work. Don't do it
What was
again.
the last time you did a score prediction?
Week 1. it didn't work. Week 1. You tried it again. But I do think the Saints are tough. I think this is going to be a struggling game because it is in New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be a very tough game. But I'm picking this team off pride and faith. This is my team. I'm never going to pick against it.
As a man, I respect the hell out of that. That being said, on both sides of the ball, they just seem a little bit more trustworthy, especially on the defensive side. You're 100% right. This rush defense from the Philadelphia Eagles
good.
is terrible.
Shout out to Quinyon fucking.
Because at
That's
first,
really my guy.
Quinyon, we always knew.
Ever
However,
since the second half of the week 1 game.
what, Quinyon?
No, I'm talking about the run defense.
Oh, agreed.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Because the first half, You had Josh Jacobs get absolutely locked up. We're like, is he washed? What's going on?
That was nice.
And
We're
then
talking crazy about Josh Jacobs.
second half, he goes berserk.
I don't think it's a I think you could say it's a Fangio problem, but I really think these dudes just can't beat anybody one-on-one. Like in the Falcons game, you had Milton lined up. No, you had Jalen Carter was getting double teamed a few times. You had Nolan lined up one-on-one. You had Jordan Davis lined up one. These dudes couldn't beat tight ends. So I think that's the real issue here. Like these dudes just one-on-one. I don't know what's going on in practice. They just can't beat anybody.
And you swapped Huff and Hassan. And Hassan obviously is
Huff is
a lot more reliable. And
Huff.
Huff simply has been, as you say, disappointing. I don't disagree. That being said, with your rush defense being as poor as it is and the way that the Saints have been playing offense, Alvin Kamara is going to have himself an amazing game. I contemplated on my start of the week, when we're going to talk about it later, being Rashid Shaheed. And I know Olave would have been the easy name because, of course, we've been waiting on a breakout game for him. But Rashid Shaheed is one of the most explosive players in the league. And as Riv put it on Twitter, he's the most explosive player that he's ever seen in his life. I love that tweet.
Yeah.
I loved it because it was fun. And Rashid Shaheed's legitimately explosive as shit. What is it? He has 11 touchdowns. All of them are over
Like
40
50
or something like that.
I think this is a Chris Olave game.
I think so too. But I still
think
think
it's
that there's
everybody game.
agreed. I think that there's too much to look at on this team, especially with the Saints.
You didn't have that,
So I'm gonna
Riff?
take the Saints. I'll keep it short. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Wait, so you don't think we're making the playoffs?
You can.
You
miss it.
said they're
the,
cooked.
the Cowboys are.
Stop.
No, I
Don't
What's
think.
a better
Bet
chance,
money.
Eagles or Seahawks?
Well, the Seahawks are gonna make the playoffs 100%.
Bet money.
No, we
So
already bet on the division.
Seahawks who damn near lost to the fucking Broncos, and we're in a dog.
Dehls, don't get mad. Dehls, just talk.
We already have an NFC East bet.
beat
We do?
your Packers, the Packers who have MVP, the Packers who go win a Super Bowl, and they went. They should have been 2-0
If the
at
Packers
fucking
didn't slip
Atlanta.
on the field, they would have won
when
the
you
game.
plug in, when you
The
You just
Packers outplayed
delayed-
them.
Dehls,
You
when you
just love to hate the Eagles,
Dehls,
bro.
when you
just
plant the
love to hate them,
seed
bro.
and you realize that
Why are
when
you doing
The
this?
Packers outplayed them.
Who?
The Packers outplayed the Eagles. There's no way you saw
What
the game and
the
thought the
fuck?
Packers didn't outplay them.
Who?
They outplayed
Yo,
them.
Jordan
They
Love,
outplayed
Jordan
them.
Love
They just
played
slipped
like
on the
dog
field
shit in that
multiple
game.
times.
They
Jordan Love
slipped on
played
the-
like dog
Jalen
shit.
Hurts
They
played
slipped
No,
worse.
he played worse.
You know that.
They,
right?
He played
we were
worse.
on the same field.
You know what? You know what's
What are
the
we
worst
talking-
on target
happened
percentage
to
in the
that
NFL?
game?
No.
You said you were throwing the game away.
No, he didn't just say they outplayed us. No, he didn't just think that.
Wow,
Quick question.
I'm trying to be here with
Quick
you.
question.
But
They
slipped?
Why do you keep going crazy?
Quick question, Dehls. We do have an NFC
Jair
East
Alexander
bet, right?
slipped. When AJ beat his eye, Jair Alexander slipped.
No, that's
When
not the play I'm
double
talking
move
about.
clown face, he slipped.
That's not the
what
play I'm talking
happened.
about.
So what are you talking? When Jalen Hurts ran, he ran him over, and he slipped. That's what you're telling me right now.
That's not the play I'm talking about.
So what plays are you talking about? When Jordan Love threw it interception, he slipped. Is that what you're saying?
No, when-
So when he almost threw a pick six, he slipped.
He's
When
talking about
Christian-
the play to Saquon Barkley over the top, I'm assuming.
No, when Christian
Oh, when
Watson
he-
was in the end zone, he slipped, and he would have caught a touchdown. How did he slip?
You mean when Wicks dropped the ball multiple times? Those are slipping
he
problems.
did slip
Yes, he did
sometimes.
slip.
Oh, but he still had the ball. What do coaches tell you? When that ball hit your hand,
gotta
what
catch
do you
it.
do?
You
What do
gotta
you
catch
do?
it.
He
Ball
slipped.
hits your
And
hand, you
also,
gotta
on the
catch
final
it.
Eagles drive, they called a phantom
Oh,
holding
my
on Jair
God,
Alexander.
bro.
That
This-
wasn't a holding.
The Chiefs get that call all the time. And you don't complain about nothing.
The
Oh
Bengals.
my God, you just cooked.
That's a lie. The Bengals actually committed a penalty on a final play.
Oh, they committed that. But let it be
Did you
seen.
not see the
There's
play?
fan penalties
Did you
in
not
every
see the play?
game
The
in
rookie
every
safety
fucking
literally
quarter,
hopped
man.
on the
There's a
shit right
fan
to
play
back.
every single game in the NFL. Is that the reason y'all lost? No, that ain't the damn reason
Wait,
y'all
did
lost.
they have other opportunities to stop or score a touchdown in that game?
Well,
or is
yeah,
that
on-
penalty signed and sealed and they kneeled the rest
On
of
the
the game?
final
No.
drive on third down, they called a dumb penalty
Okay,
that
how
should have
about
given the
Jalen
Packers
Hurts
the
when
ball back.
Saquon dropped the ball in the final fucking drive? Fucking goofy shit,
and
man.
then threw a game-losing
Goofy shit. And Jordan Love had an opportunity at the end to
So wait.
make something happen.
No, he didn't because he didn't get the ball back because they
They
called
didn't
out
get the ball
holding.
back.
He did. You said he
They get the
On
ball.
the last drive of the game,
Hail
no.
Mary. You said
He's
he's
lying.
can't win the game.
He's lying, bro.
You said Jordan Love was not a Hail fucking
He did get the
Mary.
ball. He's lying right now.
Everything after the injury, I forgot about. It was one of the worst moments of my life. swear.
Joel, stop. They got the ball.
Before you guys keep going, don't we have an NFC East bet?
Oh my God.
It's who wins the NFC East between the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Okay, we do. I'm just
Yes.
making sure.
Okay.
I'm making
That's
sure.
the bet we're making. I'm not
Okay.
making no more bets about the
Okay,
Eagles.
no. I
That's
just
the
want,
bet.
No, I just wanted to be reminded. I'm
my
glad we have
Yes.
that. Okay.
So, Dehls, are you going with the
I'm
Saints?
so sorry.
I'm going with the Saints. I'm going with the Saints until they show me otherwise. The offense is the most explosive in the NFL. Defense has been showing up. Just fucking smack the Cowboys on the road. I love Philly. I hope they win.
When it comes to the Eagles, it just doesn't make. He plants a seed with the Eagles, and then his tree just fucks up every time it goes to a different branch.
Well, it grew
doesn't
to a
make
beautiful
sense.
tree last year.
It doesn't ever make sense. It's this way. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like why?
And
do
then the Cowboys end up in the same
The
place.
seed I planted last year didn't grow
You
into a
are a
beautiful
Jets
tree.
fan.
How about the Cowboys?
No, Drew, this is what really boggles my fucking mind.
Can we keep the Jets out of this?
You're a Jets fan. You love and you glaze Tom Brady. You don't care.
When
you
he was
love,
on the Bucs.
you love Josh Allen. But you sit here, you hate the Eagles for whatever reason.
Overrated.
You love Dak. You love Dallas. You love Seattle. You love Geno. You love all these teams that don't do shit. Yet the Eagles get all this hate and this.
What did the Eagles do last year? They
What
choked.
has Seattle done? What has Geno done? You see him, you glaze this man. He does everything. He won 9
Cowboys.
fucking
What
games
He led
last
the
year.
league in
He
game-winning
didn't do a
drives
damn
last year.
thing
What
last
Dallas
year.
do last year?
What
They
are
Super Bowl
you
pick.
talking about? What did they do?
Geno
They beat
led-
the Broncos, and who else they beat? I don't even remember. What does he do? He's 10th in EPA. He's 8th in success rate. They won 9 games. What else? What has he done?
Maybe
the
this
year before
is-
that, they lost to Purdy. Brock Purdy. He beat him
You
in
mean
the
the
playoffs.
49ers, the stacked team, the most
Seattle
stacked
didn't
team in
make
the
the
NFL.
playoffs. Now what? Who else you like? Who else? You like Mahomes. You like Joe Burrow. He's 0-2. He has not won a game yet. He does not have a game on the board. He doesn't. You like his Super Bowl run? Jalen Hurts was better than him in the Super Bowl.
Easily,
Fact.
too.
Fact.
Easily.
Fact.
Against
no
the
fiction.
Chiefs. Against
Fact.
the Chiefs. Against Mahomes.
Fact. You want to talk about defenses? Joe Burrow's defense was crazy that run. What's Jalen
about
Hurts'
Evan
defense
McPherson.
right
Talk
now?
about Evan
Dog
McPherson.
shit. You want to talk about Dak? Dak has never in his life had a playoff game that good in the Super Bowl. You want to talk about choking? Dak. All the fucking time. He played the Green Bay Packers. You picked Dallas. They got fucked.
Bent over.
Like literally.
Bent over.
Why do you hate us so much? Like it hurts me. Like you hate us so much.
Riv, we got 13 more games to go. Maybe this is a more simple stat for you. Geno led the league in game-winning drives. That's not an
And they won
analytics
9
stat.
games.
He missed 2 games due to injury.
I'm sorry.
They could have won more.
Stay healthy.
Oh shit.
What do you
Hurts
want
was
me to
banged
do?
up the whole year last year.
He was. That knee was fucked up.
Kills me. You hate us.
Also,
Why?
the year
Be a
after
fan.
Hurts made the Super Bowl, he lost in the playoffs in the first round. Joe Burrow took the Bengals to the AFC Championship game. So, if you look at a 2-year sample size, Burrow is still better. It doesn't matter.
Didn't Joe Burrow
Burrow's
miss
also
the
missed
playoffs?
2 seasons.
No, that's the only concern with him, not his play on the
Didn't
field.
Joe Burrow
Burrow's
miss the
0-2
playoffs?
right now.
Well, when he was hurt last
After
year.
the Super Bowl, he missed the playoffs.
The very next year, no.
No, they went to
he
AFC
went to the AFC
Championship
Championship game. Yeah, you thought they were miss the playoffs that year. Packers versus Titans. The Titans are 2.5-point favorites at home, and it's probably because they're expecting Malik Willis to start this game.
Agreed.
Is this one of those games that if Jordan Love plays, we all have the Packers, and if he
I'm with
doesn't
that.
play, you guys are going another direction?
No,
or
I'm
what is
taking
this?
I'm taking whoever is the quarterback, regardless Malik or Jordan Love, to win this game. I've seen too little from the Tennessee Titans offense for me to feel like they can just go out there and just have their way with the Packers defense. Packers defense put together a very impressive performance against the Indianapolis Colts. And of course, Malik Willis was able to do a job. 12 for 14, took care of the ball, did a great job, did enough to win the football game, and Josh Jacobs was amazing. I think this Tennessee defense is a lot better than the Indianapolis Colts. That being said, I just trust that the foundation of the Packers is going to be good enough to beat a not-so-disciplined Tennessee Titans team.
I'm taking the Titans. If Jordan Love does play, which I think he's going to sit out one more week. I think he'll be back for week 4. If Jordan Love does play, though, I'll take the Packers. If not, though, I'll be taking
Wow.
the Titans. We mentioned it before the show, right? This
Yes.
was a Packers, the Packers and Colts game. They put up 13 points. Malik 12 of 14. I get all that. Josh Jacobs went fucking insane. He was backpacking this team. But I think going up against Tennessee Titans, who have more than a respectable defense, it's not going to be the same thing. And then also on the other side, with the highs and lows of Anthony Richardson, this offense can be very hit or miss, right? And that was a game where credit to the Packers defense. I'm not saying it was all Anthony Richardson, but AR misses a lot of them throws, and Will Levis can too. But I do think that if Tennessee Titans are going up against Malik Willis, they'll have some success there. Don't trust Colt Stevens at all. I mean, this looks like a potentially bottom 5 unit in the NFL this year, especially with some of the injuries they got. So Jordan Love plays. I'll take the Packers, but assuming he's going to be out, it can be Tennessee.
Man, Malik Willis was 12 for 14. He was very efficient, but the issue was how they were playing him and what they were asking him to do. In the first half, that's where the entire Packers offense came from, 200-plus yards rushing. They had 4 different Packers rush for 15-plus yards or more in a given play, which is just absolutely absurd. Malik Willis wasn't asked to do much. It was just throws to the sideline, some wide receiver screens, some running back screens, maybe some quick throws here. He had some throws, like 1 or 2, where he was actually asked to push the ball down the field. And the biggest question mark with me is that because he's brand new to this offense? And if Matt LaFleur can win in this way, why is he going to expand the playbook? And also, if Malik is in this offense for another week, does the playbook expand a little bit more? I think this game really comes down to who do you think will cost their team more between Malik or Will Levis? And Will Levis is a weird player because he's had back-to-back games where he hasn't been so good taking care of the ball. But in the second half of the Jets game, I thought he played really well, and maybe that momentum can continue. But I think the Packers are a serious team, and I think this roster is loaded top to bottom. And I think this is another week that on the road, they weren't on the road against the Colts, but I think this is another week that on the road, their team as a whole shows up. If Malik plays, I got them too. And if Jordan Love plays, obviously I got the Packers.
Okay.
Serious team.
Lost to a team that is doing nothing this year. Don't forget.
I am going with the Tennessee Titans this game. Whew. I just feel like this defense is legitimately good. I really like this defense. I like the secondary. I like the way they can get to a quarterback. And this is all with Malik Willis playing, by the way. If Jordan Love is playing, I do have the Packers. But I think the way Malik Willis played last week was a bit safe. I do think Josh Jacobs had a breakout game. I don't know if he can do it against a much better defense in the Titans. Will Levis, man, he just has to not fuck it up. If he can just not fuck it up, play conservative, game-managing football, which he probably has that itch where it's like, I don't want to do that, then they can win this game. I do think this is kind of a make-or-break moment for Will Levis, starting 0-3, not ideal. And I think Tennessee wants to be competitive at the most this year. So look out for potentially Mason Rudolph starting to get that call, like, oh, suit up.
I'd love to see it.
You might be ready for this game. But it depends on how Will Levis plays, because Rudolph could come in the second half if Will Levis is playing bad and they want to win this game. But I do have the Tennessee Titans. I think they get their first win.
This is your upset of the week. Texans versus the Vikings.
Is this my upset of the week?
You picked the Vikings, correct?
I did. I didn't know that would be.
Well, that is an upset.
I guess that's fair.
44
My biggest upset right now, because the Jets
well, I
are.
know. Well, we'll mention it later because I know what you're going to talk about. But Texans versus the Vikings. The Vikings are home, but the Texans are 2.5-point favorites. Now, the Vikings are playing some really goddamn good football.
They've been playing
and
amazing.
I think Vegas put in a lot of respect on them, as they should, because Brian Flores, I mean, what he's doing on defense is elite right now, the ways they're disguising those coverages. And then offensively, Sam Darnold is really getting into a rhythm, and he's playing well. The reason I'm going with the Texans here is because Sam Darnold, over the last 2 games, he's had some really great moments. I also have felt like he's gotten away with some things. And I wanted to check the stats to see if it matched what I saw on tape. PFF, turnover-worthy plays. CJ Stroud's actually top 10 in turnover-worthy plays. He has 4 right now, 2 weeks into the season. Sam Darnold only has 1. And I thought that was interesting because watching these last 2 games from him, I think about 3 or 4 throws got besides him that could have been picked off. So I'm not fully agreeing with PFF on that mantra with just 1 of his throws with turnover-worthy plays. I think Sam Darnold has had a little bit more. This is a different challenge for the Vikings. They have a great pass rushing duo. They have a great secondary. Stingley and Lassiter have been really good, and Jefferson is a little bit hobbled coming into this game. Not saying that he's not going to play a great game, but he is a little bit hobbled. I think this is the game that Sam Darnold can get a little bit rattled and play a little bit besides himself, because DeMeco Ryans, much like Brian Flores, does the same type of stuff when it comes to disguising his defenses and what he's doing pre-snap. I got the Texans on the road winning the game.
And I see the way that the Houston Texans offense hasn't looked up to what we were anticipating coming in. Of course, it's early, but you're going up against a division rival, Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, that's going to happen. Still results in 29 points. An amazing performance from Joe Mixon. You go into week 2, Chicago definitely makes you uncomfortable. That pocket was definitely collapsing, and they were getting a ton of pressure. I'm anticipating a lot of that from the Minnesota Vikings as well. Understanding that Joe Mixon's coming into this game banged up. He hasn't practiced the last 2 days. He probably is going to be out. And Dameon Pierce also hasn't practiced, which means step back 3, Cam Akers now steps into that lead role. Nico Collins was also a little bit banged up. I'm assuming he does play leading receiver in the National Football League right now. He's in a different class right now. He's simply too good to be stopped regardless of who's playing defense on him. However, on the opposite side, Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler, really good duo. And another one, if I'm not mistaken, I think Aaron Jones is also banged up a little bit too. However, the Texans' rush defense has been stellar to start this season. Locked down Jonathan Taylor. I think he averaged 3 yards a carry and completely shut down DeAndre Swift. Where I think they can have the advantage, of course, so long as Jettas and Jordan Addison do play, I think that we can still see Sam Darnold have himself a decent enough game where the Vikings defense can hold. And of course, I see Minnesota coming out on top, especially at home. They do play a lot better in their home turf. I anticipate that Brian Flores draws up a good enough scheme to limit, not stop, to limit the Houston Texans just enough for Minnesota to pull this one out.
This is probably one of the toughest games of the week for me. Minnesota coming off a statement victory against the San Francisco 49ers. None of us really gave them a chance, right? Like week 1, they went out, had a solid game, but week 2 against San Fran, like, all right, this is a real test where you could go and prove yourself, right? Brian Flores, Sam Darnold, to say, like, this is a team that could make a potential wild card push. And it feels wrong, still not believing all the way, but I am going to go with Houston for one more week. Although they struggled a bit with Chicago, to me, it's still one of the best offenses in football. With C.J. Stroud, with Nico and those guys. And we really haven't seen the ancillary pieces like Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs really get, engraved in this offense, right? Stephon Diggs had a touchdown week 1, but I'm still waiting for that Tank Dell 70-yard touchdown. You're still waiting for a Stephon Diggs game 6 for 60 where he's a real underneath target. The running back room does worry me a bit because you saw week 1, Joe Mixon was fucking backpacking against the Indianapolis Colts. That looking back, maybe it's not that impressive. But I think Cam Akers, you could do enough there, right? With him really being the only running back there. This is still going to be a team that's going to rely on CJ Stroud. And to me, when I really have to do a tiebreaker here between the two, because I think there's some similarities on defense, as you mentioned, with the coaching, Sam Darnold and CJ Stroud. Give me my eggs in C.J. Stroud's basket, but I think Minnesota's got a real chance to pull this off.
I think the difference is not in C.J. Stroud and Sam Darnold. It's in C.J. Stroud and Brock Purdy. I think when you watched last game, you saw a lot of Minnesota was able to disguise their defensive coverages. They were able to kind of put a voodoo spell and kind of have Brock Purdy guessing. And the Niners have actually one of the worst separation in terms of wide receivers in the league right now. Like, their receivers cannot get separation at the moment. Obviously, Ayuk is going to get up to speed, and once he gets up to speed, he'll bump that number up. But right now, those Niners receivers just can't seem to get separation at the moment. With the Texans, I just think CJ's pocket presence is much better. He's able to see the field much better. I think he's able to, when a play breaks down, really make a spectacular play. He's been doing that with him, Nico Collins. I do think this is a Tank Dell game because I do think they'll have a lot of their attentions on Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. I do think this was the game where Tank Dell can get loose. And I think their defense really can show out just in the run game. I think the Texans defense is really good. This isn't a slight to the Vikings, I feel like, because you mentioned that they might feel like we don't believe in them. I just think the Texans, like you mentioned, are a really, really good football team. I think they have all the talent in the world with the coaching. Brian Flores is probably going to put on the show. But I think, like you mentioned, that Sam Darnold has these moments at times where he kind of gets a little bit ahead of himself. And with Jettas being day-to-day, him being a little bit hobbed up, with Addison being hobbed up, it's going to be hard to really predict how they're going to look in week 3. But I'm going to sit here, I'm going to pick the Houston Texans to get this W.
Now, Kyle Shanahan has a history of struggling against blitzes and defense coordinators that blitz. So, of course, we know in the Super Bowl, he lost to Steve Spagnuolo twice already with the Chiefs. He's lost to Jim Schwartz in the Eagles in 2020 Week 4. When Brian Flores was the head coach of the Dolphins in 2020, he lost against them. And then he's lost to Brian Flores twice already as he's been the coordinator with the Vikings. So I think the Vikings just know how to play them really well. And a big reason for that is because in these Shanahan offenses, quarterbacks don't have the freedom to change plays at the line of scrimmage. Kyle Shanahan, once he calls a play, that's the play, and that's what he rolls with. And the quarterbacks don't have the freedom to check out of that. So Brock Purdy was at the line, and he's seeing these different looks, and he's not able to change the play and go to a different one based off what he's seeing, and that messed up the rhythm of the offense a lot. And we know that C.J. Stroud is in a similar scheme, and I don't know how much freedom he has to change things. I would assume that he has more than Brock Purdy, which is why I think it could be more of a chess match than it was, because there were some times where they really rattled the 49ers offense. Giants versus Browns. The Browns are a 6.5-point favorite.
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Here we go.
This is a walkthrough.
I told
Giants
myself
gonna win.
I would never pick them again. I picked them last
definitely a
week.
jinx
They
right now.
lost. We're going with Cleveland.
You know, the Giants were the first team in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns without giving any touchdowns up
did see the
to
stat.
lose a game.
Yeah,
They
that's-
allowed 7 field
They're
goals.
finding new ways
Giants
to
might
lose
not
every
score
week.
10 points.
They needed a kicker, man. They have a kicker.
That's
They
a
win the
fact.
game.
Yeah.
I
They
think-
signed someone. Greg Joseph, was it?
I
Signed
don't know.
somebody.
Fuck them.
I think the Browns are going to win, but this is an ugly win. I got the Browns winning 14-10.
You're trolling if you think the Giants can win.
You don't think
score
the
10
Browns'
points.
offense can get anything going against his defense?
It's possible, but this Browns offense is also 4 for 29 on third down.
I'm screaming at a 14-3 game.
I think Jerry Jeudy can have himself a good ball game.
He's been looking good.
Yeah. Chargers versus Steelers. The Steelers are 1.5 point favorites. They are at home.
John, I'm here for you.
No, I'm here too. Are you here also?
I'm here.
I don't know. You're the
Nah,
one.
they're gonna lose.
I was
I'm
going to say
picking
he's
LA
taking the Chargers.
Chargers.
Yeah,
They're
me
gonna
too.
lose. Because
he's taking.
in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
I know.
This
Well,
is,
it's
this
just
is like
this
the
matchup.
Spider-Man meme. This is like these pointing at each other. To me, these are like identical teams where you
Yes,
have head
they are.
coaches that are uplifting the team.
Cook.
This both run-heavy teams.
Defensive
that-
first.
Yeah, defense.
Yeah, one team just has the better quarterback.
Of
Pittsburgh.
course.
And
yeah.
one team
Oh,
also has stop. One team has the way better defense. And I know the
Steelers,
Chargers have
yeah.
been playing well, but the Steelers defense is legitimately one of the
And
best.
the Steelers at least have that win over Atlanta, who, listen, Kirk didn't look great in that week 1 performance, but so far the Chargers beat up on the Raiders. They beat up on the Panthers. I'm really interested to see how this run game, how Dobbins looks against the Steelers, because he ran all
That
over
Raiders
the
game
Raiders
was closer than people
and
think.
all over the Panthers. It was.
They
for
pulled away
sure.
in the 4th late. The J.K. Dobbins big run.
And that's an impressive win looking back at the Raiders beating the Ravens.
True.
So that's
Shit
more
looks a
impressive
little
than
different
usual. Now, this is an obscure stat that has nothing to do with the actual game, but it is interesting. The Steelers haven't beat the Chargers in Pittsburgh since 2009. So it's been a while. They don't face that
I'll say, how
often.
many times they played
Yes.
each other, like,
They
3
probably
times?
face like once like every 3-4 years, kind of.
I think this is a nasty
I
game.
thought about making Dobbins my sit of the week, to be honest with you.
Yeah. This game might
This
be
is a tough
over in like
defense.
2 hours.
Did
and
you
20
guys see
minutes.
what Ryan Clark said about George Pickens?
No.
That he's more talented than
Garrett-
Justin Jefferson?
Oh, Jettas?
Oh, that's insane. However, George
Oh, did he
Pickens
say
is one of
beginning
the
of
most
year?
talented
Or
in
he
the
said
league.
that
He is
recently?
talented.
I feel like I saw that
Because
in
Jettas,
all-stars.
remember, Jettas was a 2-star coming out. Pickens was always...
That is irrelevant. To me.
No, I'm
Josh
just-
Allen was a one. Was he
I'm
no
just-
star?
Yeah, he
I'm
wasn't-
just,
he
I'm
went
just
to fucking
explaining.
Wyoming.
I'm just
Yeah,
explaining.
no, he was chatting shit because he's a Steeler guy, and I respect that.
I mean, Pickens has been elite this
He's
year. Like his
amazing.
separation numbers are off the charts. He's been phenomenal.
I can see why you guys got the Steelers. I think this is a pick 'em game. I have the Chargers because I trust their offense and I trust their offensive line, their tackle duo more.
You see Herbert also. Is
He has an
playing
ankle injury,
banged up.
yes, but I think they're just trying to kind of limit him a little bit. I would be shocked if he doesn't play
he?
because
He's gonna
Herbert
play.
always
Injury
plays through
prone?
injuries.
Yeah,
He's
oh,
always
yes.
hurt every year.
Him,
He does.
Joe
he is.
Burrow, Tua, and I'm blanking on the last
Well, at
one.
least with
Hurts,
those- with
low key
those-
are injury prone.
With those two, though,
Herbert
Tua
plays.
and Joe, Tua and Joe usually are out. Like, Herbert plays, but he's always banged up.
No, yeah, he always plays
Him and
through
Josh,
injuries.
Hurts,
like he
they
takes
always
a lot of
have
hits.
something going on with them.
I look at the Chargers. They have the best tackle duo in football with Rashawn Slater and Joe All. Joe All was able to limit Max Crosby. It's going to be a different challenge trying to do that with TJ Watt. But if there's 2 tackles that I trust against Highsmith and TJ Watt, it's them 2. I think an X factor is Cameron Hayward, who has been playing out of his mind even at his old age.
Joey Porter,
The
man.
the difference with this is that I look at the Steelers and they have 1 offensive touchdown, 8 field goals in 2 games. Their offense has been absolutely abysmal, and their tackles have held up well, but you have to take into account that they're facing the Broncos edge rushers, and then week 1 they're facing the Falcons edge rushers, and those 2 teams don't have good pass rushing groups. Against Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, that's going to be much different. And Christian Fulton and Jazir Taylor, the Chargers corners, they both right now are top 10 in PFF coverage grade. And Christian Fulton was somebody I was very high on coming into the season, thinking that he was going to bounce back because he was a high draft pick. And I think it was just a confidence issue with him in Tennessee. I think this Chargers defense is much better
Pickens
than.
looked good against PS2,
Yeah,
though.
I know. I think this
the
Chargers
best 29
defense
yards I've ever seen.
is much better than what people give it credit for, and I think we're starting to see that. And then if you just look at the offensive numbers with the Steelers so far, this is facing the
ugly.
Falcons, a good offense, and then a good defense, and then the Broncos. I think they're an average defense, nothing too crazy. The Steelers right now, I'm trying to see if I wrote it down. They're 25th in dropback success rate and 29th in rush success rate. This has been one of the bottom offenses in the NFL. And the Chargers have been winning ugly, but their offense hasn't been as inefficient. So I think this is a 17-13 game. I got the Chargers. I think it's low scoring. It's muddy. But these are 2 teams with very similar identities. The next game, Broncos versus Buccaneers. Buccaneers are 6.5 point favorites at home.
There was a part of me that thought, hey, it's not the craziest thing that we might have a chance to win this game, But Buccaneers are just playing better football right now, and the Broncos are untrustworthy, especially on offense. I think we can see a good game out of Javonte, just because I don't love this rush unit from the Buccaneers. If there was an avenue for us to kind of impede on them kicking our ass, it would be embracing the run. That being said, I can't trust us. Would love to see us win, but I'll take Tampa.
Yeah, I got the Bucks. It's pretty easy.
Bucks.
I got the Buccaneers too. Now the next game, Dolphins versus Seahawks. Seahawks 4.5-point favorites.
I have Seattle in this one.
Yeah, I think everyone should have Seattle in this game. However, people love to say that the Dolphins team is so stacked, so good, it can win with any quarterback. Obviously, we know those narratives have died, thankfully. But regardless, everyone should be going Seattle.
I just don't think Skylar Thompson is one of those quarterbacks.
He's
that
terrible
deserve
too.
that.
But then,
You had Jacoby Brissett.
sorry, Tyler Huntley. Did just come in.
I
Maybe
think
we
they're
see
rolling
him.
with Skylar.
They are rolling
Skylar's
with
good.
Skylar.
I mean, I think Snoop is something goes wrong. He's
Let
waiting.
me also say, I'm happy for Skylar in the sense of the way he was talking about it. He gets a little bit emotional having another chance to start.
Wish him success.
Of course, it's the NFL. You rarely get an opportunity like this.
You know, before we move on, the Seahawks fans, they're anxious about this game. Of course, no Tua, Skylar Thompson should be an easy win. But the last regime with Pete Carroll, when they faced backup quarterbacks, they would lose those games. And a lot of the times they would get
These
upset.
fucking Seahawks and Geno Smith lose to the Dolphins.
Mason Rudolph, Colt McCoy, they all had like exceptional games against them. And the Seahawks fan base I know is very anxious for this game, but the Seahawks should
I
win.
hate Seattle. I like Seattle.
Yeah, that's the thing. Seattle.
I like Geno.
I don't hate you guys. Gino, I don't hate you. I don't have no feelings towards you. Let these motherfuckers lose to Skylar Thompson, Joel, and it's gonna be a dark day for you on Friday. I don't care that it's about basketball.
Well, they'll still have a better record than the Eagles, even if
that
they
means
lose.
nothing. They don't like you. You've been a fan, and we've seen a Super Bowl, so I don't care.
Panthers versus Raiders. Raiders are 5.5-point favorites. I think this game just got
Gardner
much
Minshew
tougher
get right game.
because Andy Dalton is playing instead
Andy
of Bryce
Dalton's
Young.
tougher.
So it's a different type of preparation. You got to prepare for an Andy Dalton.
I guess so.
team.
That being said, I think the Raiders should win this game pretty comfortably, regardless.
Minshew get right game.
Okay.
Last week wasn't get right. The win.
He's second in yards in
I
the
feel like
league.
Max Crosby won that game more than for
Minshew?
Yeah.
When
I thought
Minshew
it was
played well.
first.
Yeah.
No, first
I think
is
Purdy's second.
Purdy.
And Minshew is first in completion percentage at 77.5%.
He's cooking.
Yeah, right
He
now.
looks worse than that. I feel like the Chargers game, he really wasn't good.
The Colts are missing him right now, man. They could use a Pro Bowl
no.
quarterback.
Purdy is first.
Okay.
550. Gardner Minshew second, tied with Stafford.
He has 551, right?
533.
Okay.
Who Purdy has 550.
Well, Minshew's first in completion percentage, and
He is.
yeah, I think a lot of it has been propped up by the Ravens game because he was otherworldly
Well, I mean,
in
he
the
does
Ravens
have
game.
Tay and Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. So
Brock Bowers.
Brock
should be
Bowers.
good.
I
God
think
bless
that
him.
he beat them last year too.
Who?
Gardner Minshew with
Ravens?
the Colts.
The Colts beat the Ravens?
Yes,
did they?
I don't think so.
he was the quarterback, if I'm not mistaken.
Did the
for that
Ravens
win.
lose to the Colts?
I don't remember actually. I could look. I got the Raiders in this game. It does. The Raiders would have been lock of the week if it was Bryce Young. The fact that it's Andy Dalton
Crying at that.
didn't make that my lock of the week in Survivor.
No, yeah, I should have picked against the Panthers last week. That was my last chance to pick against Bryce Young.
Yeah, I picked against them.
Ravens versus Cowboys. The Ravens are 1.5-point favorites on the
one's
road.
tough.
They're playing
Ravens aren't
Dallas.
going 0-3. Lamar gets the win. Like Riv said, all pride, all heart here, because this Ravens defense has looked a little rough. The offensive lines looked a little rough.
So why didn't you do that?
Mark
with Philly?
Andrews hasn't got involved.
Are you a Philly fan or are you a Jalen Hurts?
I'm a Jalen Hurts fan, but I want them to win because that
Why
helps
didn't you
Jalen
do the all
Hurts.
pride stuff with us, man?
Also, it's just fucking the Saints are looking OD.
Oh, I respect that.
You know what I mean?
Dallas does.
Dallas just got smoked.
I respect that.
I
And
think this
also,
is
when I was down in Florida, Chelsea, all of her family is Cowboys fans. So they saw all of us take Dallas, and they got smoked. And they're like, now you got to pick against Dallas every week. I was like, all right, I got you. So shout out to Baltimore.
I think this is a get right game for both teams. They both need this win. The Ravens need it much more because they can't fall to 0-3 or else they're in real danger of their season being over. And it just started. But the Ravens right now are second in penalty yards. They're an undisciplined football team.
Seems like something that's going to regress to the mean.
They're first in rushing yards allowed per game, so that part of their defense has been really good. But they're 32nd in passing yards allowed per game, and they allow the most explosive plays per game of any team in the NFL right now. The thing is with the Ravens is that everything has kind of been backwards with this team. The Ravens, we thought with Derrick Henry, they were going to be this unstoppable rushing offense, and that hasn't come to fruition. The offensive line, Ronnie Stanley actually has been looking back to himself, but the entire offensive line outside of him and Linderbaum, they have all been terrible. And then we thought the strength of this team was the secondary. And that has been the biggest weakness thus far. And the defensive line has actually been performing well. Owe is having a breakout year. He's playing at an elite level. This is a game that is tough to pick because I think the Cowboys are going to have trouble stopping the run with the Ravens, but I think the Ravens are going to have trouble stopping the pass with the Cowboys, and the Cowboys aren't going to run the ball that much anyway. You know, they're a pass-first team. So for me, I think the difference maker in this game is just the Cowboys' defensive line and how Micah Parsons can have his way with that offensive line. And I think the Cowboys, they got smoked last week, but the Saints offense is filled with misdirections, and the Ravens don't have that type of attention to detail with their offense. It'll be much easier to defend. So I think that the Cowboys have a lot of talent with Trayvon Diggs, with their defensive players, with Overshawn at linebacker. They have speedy linebackers that can cover. And everybody for the Ravens right now on the second level and third level have all been liabilities in coverage. So I got the Cowboys in this game. I think it's a close one. I got the score being 28-27. I think it's a narrow victory.
Need the Cowboys.
I will be taking the Baltimore Ravens. I think we see Derrick Henry's best game as a Baltimore Raven. Have gotten to the end zone the last 2 weeks. That's fair. However, we haven't seen him be dominant on the ground. I expect that versus the Dallas Cowboys, especially because I don't love their rush defense. I also look on the opposite side. CeeDee Lamb hasn't practiced, if I'm not mistaken, up until this point. Limited today. That's obviously a huge sign, so which most likely means he will be playing this weekend. However, it's got to be a point where the Ravens can't go 0-3. The Ravens go 0-3, their season is over. You talk about Micah Parsons and, of course, DeMarcus Lawrence being able to wreak havoc on that offensive line. We've seen Lamar Jackson, although it hasn't led to wins, we know that obviously he still gets, he moves in the pocket a ton. He can do a great job of escaping pressure. And I think that we will see a more dominant showing from Baltimore Ravens on the rushing side as opposed to them really relying on the pass. And especially in this matchup against Dallas, they have to do something like that. So I will be taking the Ravens. It will be a great game, but interested to see how CD looks, especially after being a little bit banged up.
This is actually, all bias aside, a very tough game for me to pick because I think this gives a different challenge. Dallas, like you mentioned, their pass rush, I think will be able to have a lot of fun with Baltimore's offensive line. Although I do think you mentioned it, they had a lot of misdirection in the Saints. The Saints offense caused the Cowboys a lot of trouble because they had a lot of misdirection. But I also think the Cowboys secondary is just a little bit banged up. You know, I also do think not having Bland out there is tough. They did lose Gilmore in free agency. Trayvon Diggs, he looked a little funny last week. I'm not gonna say he's all the way regressed and nothing like that. He just had a bad game. It happens in life. I do think Baltimore is the more desperate team. I actually just changed my pick, telling you that in advance.
So you had the Cowboys at first?
I did. At first had the Cowboys. Thought about it for a little bit. Changed my pick to Baltimore. I'm just gonna pick the more desperate team.
This guy. Just say fuck
it's
this
no.
guy.
See, the difference between
That's
me and
why
him
you picked
is,
the Ravens.
No. I can put my bias aside and I could just look at it from a, you know.
Well, you clearly
Except
did. And you
Philly.
changed your
Except
pick to the
Philly.
Ravens.
Except
because
Philly.
I thought about it. I'm just gonna pick the desperate team. I think the team in Baltimore backs against the wall. I think Lamar Jackson comes out, have an MVP performance. He's able to pull this out of his ass. If he doesn't though, 0-3, not ideal.
0-3, they're done.
Yeah,
We all know how many losses the Ravens had in their personnel and also in their coaching staff because Mike McDonald left. The most underrated one has been Denard Wilson. Denard Wilson was their defensive backs coach, their secondary coach last year. He's the current defensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans. And we see how well the Tennessee Titans are playing football right now, especially that defense.
They also have more talent.
The Ravens have lost so much from last year, and I think that's something that I overlooked at first. I talked myself into the losses not being that massive, but I think it's a difference between them and the Bills because I thought the Bills' losses actually weren't that meaningful because they kept a lot of their coaching staff and they just let veteran players go. But the Ravens lost Clowney, they lost Geno Stone, they lost their all of the great defensive minds on their coaching staff. Like that was just a major blow, and I think right now we see the major problem with the Ravens is the coaching. They have multiple mishaps per game in the secondary.
I do also think if they don't choke in the fourth against the Raiders, and it's not
They were
desperation
this close
mode.
away from beating the Chiefs.
Yeah, not a big. I just think.
Or potentially
I think
would've.
even with all those losses, it's just been a couple moments within plays, couple moments within their offense and their defense that really could sway our opinions.
49ers versus the Rams. The Niners are 7.5-point favorites. Now, out for this game, Kevin Dotson, Kobe Durant, they're questionable. Cooper Kupp, Puka, Steven Avila, Jonah Jackson, Darius Williams, CMC, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle might be out too. I still think this is a dominant Niners win, though. I mean, I don't think anything changes.
Jordan Mason, play of the week. He's going to go absolutely berserk. And who will tie with him for play of the week is Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, this is his breakout game. We've been waiting for it. Spoiler, start of the week. Brandon Ayuk is going to be my guy. He's going to go absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
That's what leads to that because in order for Brandon Ayuk to have a great game, he needs his quarterback to throw him the ball. And Brock Purdy's going to have an amazing game. I think he's going to light this Rams defense up. Rams team in general is just banged up.
Cooked.
They're injured. They're hurt. I feel bad for Matthew Stafford. I genuinely do because I want to see him in a competitive situation, and it's unfortunate. But I do have the Niners.
Some good numbers. Brandon Ayuk over the last 3 seasons without Deebo on the field, 29% target share, 45% air yard share, and 2.92 yards per route run. He's going to go absolutely bonkers.
Hopefully.
Niners.
Because he dropped a touchdown last week. Week before.
Better than Ayuk. Well, he dropped it against the Jets.
He did drop it.
In the end of the first half.
It was an easy one for him.
It was
No, he should have
definitely
called it. Lions versus the Cardinals. The Lions are 3-point favorites on the road. Now, this is your upset of the week.
I guess this is my upset of the
We're
week.
here.
Yeah, I'm taking that Arizona Cardinals for sure.
Are you falling off of the Detroit wave?
Not really. I just am acknowledging what Arizona has been able to do these last 2 weeks. And I spoke about it earlier last podcast that we had. I'm looking at that loss versus the Bills in a lot better rose-colored lenses. Understanding that Bills team is amazing. They went out there and they came back from 17-3. And we've seen the way that Buffalo's defense has been able to play, especially against the Cards and the Miami Dolphins. And they came out on fire. Second half kind of lost it a little bit in terms of just moving the ball efficiently. That being said, I look at the way that Detroit played against the Buccaneers. I look at the way that the Buccaneers were able to make timely plays, and I don't love this secondary by the Detroit Lions at all right now. I understand Carlton definitely had a little bit better game as opposed to what he showed week 1, but Marvin, Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, you can't sleep on. Understanding that James Conner obviously is still one of the more effective, one of the more reliable running backs in the game. I think that Detroit will have a better offense, probably their best offensive showing that we've seen this season, because we know that the Cardinals are lacking on that side. But I think that we will see Arizona be able to outgun the Detroit Lions right now, whose offense just doesn't seem to be clicking on all cylinders. And at home, I'm riding the hot hand. I'm taking Arizona.
I got Detroit in this game. Shout out to what the Cardinals have been doing. I won't give them their respect, but I think Detroit coming off a loss is just going to have a higher sense of urgency. You got the Cardinals coming off a blowout win, beating the Rams by 30 points. We talked about it on last podcast that was probably the best win under the Jonathan Gannon era, head coach situation right now. But I think Detroit needs a bounce back game, right? I think coming into this season, we all expect them to be in contention for the NFC, in contention for the Super Bowl. First couple weeks has been choppy. Week 1, you got the overtime win against the Rams where the offense wasn't really looking great. Week 2, you lose to the Buccaneers where, again, the offense wasn't really looking great. But I think this is a bounce back in the sense that they're going to get back to their identity, which should be running the ball, and off of that, Jared Goff can attack the middle of the field. I don't look at this Arizona defense, and it scares me at all. I know they were able to get after Matt Stafford, but I think that shows more about just how banged up that Rams offensive line is more than anything. So I'm expecting Jared Goff's pass attempts to go from 55 down to about 30, but he has a more efficient game. You get Devin Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs running on this defense. They get the win on the road.
Can I say also sneakily, apologize, Riff, the rush defense has not been not nearly as bad as seasons past. Week 1 versus James Cook, although James Cook in limited opportunity wasn't the dominant performance that we were expecting. And then Kyron Williams really was limited last week. Of course, they ran up the score, but even early on, he couldn't get anything going on the ground.
I feel like that's just, with the Rams, it's just more to do with their offensive line. Mm-hmm. They don't have any good players there. Like, if you look at PFF and their pass block rating, their offensive line grading, the Rams are so below everybody else. It's clearly the worst unit in the league.
29 grade or something.
It's unworkably
20
bad.
points worse than the next worst
I don't
team.
think they can go into a high school varsity game and play well. That's how bad their offensive line has been. I think the Cardinals are going to make this a great game. The Cardinals are an explosive offense. I think they're going to finish as one of the best offenses in the NFL. And with how they play, 12 personnel, heavy formations, it allows them to get mismatches against their defenders because Trey McBride cannot be covered by linebackers. No. He's too quick. He's too agile. And Marvin Harrison gets more one-on-ones because they stack the box more. The Lions actually like playing defense from their base personnel a lot with only 4 defensive backs because they don't have a lot of good defensive backs. So it allows them to put their very best ones on the field. And the Cardinals like to do a lot of play action off their runs, but they have to get the running game going. And the Lions' run defense has still been elite. They're only allowing 76.5 yards per game. They're 24th in dropback EPA, so their pass defense has still been one of the worst in the league. But I think the difference in this game is just the Lions cleaning up a lot of the self-inflicted wounds. They went 1 for 7 in the red zone against the Bucs. They outgained the Bucs from a yardage standpoint almost twice as much. But Jared Goff had 2 turnovers, and you go 1 for 7 in the red zone. That is going to lead to a disaster, and you only lost that game by 4 points. And you had all these opportunities where you shot yourself in the foot. I think the Lions' offensive line has regressed a little bit. Well, a lot of it, I should say. I think they're a much worse unit than they were last year, but it's still not to the point to the Rams where it's unworkably bad and what Matthew Stafford had to go through. So I think they'll be able to protect Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff has a really good game. I think this is one of those games that Sam Laporta gets going as well, and I got the Lions winning 35-28.
So looking at EPA per play, they have Detroit's pass offense is literally worse than the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we've seen the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, they played the Cleveland Browns, who's a pretty great defense. I think, like you mentioned, it's been a lot of self-inflicted wounds, but I think this offense just hasn't been able to score in the red zone. I mean, when you saw that Tampa Bucs game, they literally had over 400 yards of offense, and they could not generate no points. And Jared Goff threw some really stupid interceptions that he probably shouldn't have thrown. For me, Detroit just seems like a team kind of not the same as how you look at the Eagles to a lesser degree. I just don't like this defense. I really don't trust their secondary. I just don't think they have the talent. I don't think this secondary is good enough to compete in the NFC. I think their rush defense is solid. It's getting better. I think they do have a pass rusher that can break games in Aiden Hutchinson. But if that pass rush isn't dominating games, if that run defense isn't dominating games, I really don't trust in the secondary to really, put any impact out on the game. I think this offense is high-powered. I think this offense is one of the best offenses in the league, and they'll get it going. But Jared Goff against blitzes is not good. Jared Goff under pressure, Jared Goff when he's rushed up, Jared Goff when he's hesitating is a really bad quarterback. And I think when you analyze the Detroit team going up against this Arizona team, it's weird because Arizona, I don't believe in their defense at all. But grab me the upset because I think they're just playing with a little bit more fire right now. Arizona's offense is going to be able to throw all over this Detroit secondary, I believe. And I think K1, with his escapability, his ability to scramble, they're going to have a rough day. And I think this is a high-scoring game for sure because I think this Detroit team is going to be able to go all up and down Arizona's defense. But look out for Arizona making some game-breaking plays, making Jared Goff maybe hesitate a little bit too much. I got Arizona in this one, completing the upset.
After last week, I like these upset picks because week 2, there was a lot of upsets. The Chiefs versus Falcons, Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites. Falcons got a good win, but listen, I thought they were. I thought
fucking good win.
They were thoroughly outplayed. I mean, it's a good win in the sense that they had a great win. They had a great win.
It was a great win.
A game they were supposed to lose, they won. They're euphoric over that.
They have a
but they were
0.8%
outplayed.
chance to win something
The
like that.
Falcons were outplayed in that game, and I thought pretty thoroughly. The Eagles should have probably won that game comfortably. If not for some mishaps late in the game. I think after Patrick Mahomes had 151 yards, two interceptions, one of the worst games of his career, I think he's bouncing back. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a big-time Travis Kelce game. And I know you're going to mention probably a tight end stat with the Chiefs and maybe how that ties into Kyle Pitts and what he
That's
can
going to
do.
be later for the fantasy reaction. And Joel already scolded me for it.
Yeah, because the Chiefs have been terrible against tight ends.
But you can also say Kyle Pitts is not good.
He has a 9% first. That was his other stat.
He's barely getting looked at off the first initial go. On top of it, he's not separating at a good to great level at all. This injury is fucking him.
His rookie year put up 1,000 yards. You're like, oh, this is the next elite tight end. He gets banged up and just.
That being said, Gesicki torched them, and then week 1, Isaiah Likely torched them. If it's not this week, I fear the worst.
That's how I felt about the Philly game, though.
Facts.
I was like, this is a game where Kyle Pitts should really be involved.
The Chiefs have allowed 276 yards to tight ends, which I think is number 1 in the NFL.
That's crazy.
And then the run defense also isn't that good. So Bijan Robinson can have a big game. There's a way that the Falcons can keep this game closer than expected. But you have to understand that last week, Monday Night Football, Kirk Cousins only got one quarterback hit. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo is not going to not send pressure at Kirk. He's going to send pressure early and often and consistently throughout the game. And I think it's just going to throw off their offense entirely. So I got the Chiefs on the road.
I'm taking Kansas City too. I'm not thinking too much about this.
Casey.
Jaguars versus the Bills. Bills 4.5-point favorites at home.
We got Monday night doubleheader.
Interesting stat.
The other game sucks.
It's the Bengals and Commanders.
I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a light show.
Yeah.
Since the second half of the Cardinals game, the Bills have had a plus 30-point differential. They've been that dominant in, against the Dolphins and in the second half against Arizona. The Jaguars have lost both their games by a combined 8 points. I think there is a world where they can bounce back in this one, but they don't have no Tyson Campbell. I think their defense has been playing really well, but their offense is really the biggest reason why I can't have any faith in this team. It's unworkably bad, and the play calling is just terrible. Trevor Lawrence is not able to overcome this terrible situation in the way that he was able to maybe a couple years back. Because I thought as a rookie and even in the second year, well, mostly as a rookie, he didn't have the best stats, but you saw how he avoided sacks. And year after year, his pressure to sack ratio has been getting consistently worse. And he doesn't have that same elite pocket presence that he once had. He gets rattled often. And I think that's just
He's scared
has
as
to,
It's a product of what has been given
exactly.
to him.
And I think that's the biggest reason why I got the Bills. 6th in EPA per play, defense, offense is 2nd EPA per play. I mean, this is an elite team, the Bills right now, and I don't think the Jaguars are going to challenge them.
Bills are playing unbelievable football. That win versus the Dolphins, of course, before the terrible accident of Tua happened, they were dominating that football game regardless. So I look at how they were able to come back against Arizona. You mentioned the plus 30-point differential. They've just been playing at such a high level, and the Jacksonville Jaguars offense is putrid. I like Brian Thomas. I don't like him in this matchup. I've watched what they did to Marvin Harrison. I watched what they did to both Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I don't like this matchup for Brian at all.
Teron playing?
Tyson Campbell or Teron?
No,
Teron Johnson?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I will say I'm interested to see how this running back room for the Jacksonville Jaguars looks. If there's one thing that the Bills can be susceptible to, it is the run. So, of course, whether that is ETN, depending on Tank Bigsby's health, how is he going to look in this game too? But outside of that, I still trust the pass offense for the Buffalo Bills, regardless of the weapons. I think we see finally a good Dalton Kincaid game. I think this is the one.
He hasn't had a bad game, bro.
I understand that, but I
Talking
need the
about from a
numbers.
fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's 100% talking about fantasy.
That's
he
all
just
I
hasn't
care
had the
about.
stats.
I need them. Please,
I'm sorry.
I'm begging you.
This Bills offense is going to be like the Packers last year. Like
They're double
there's not going to
teaming.
be like one guy fantasy wise you
it
can
should
rely on
have
every
been
year.
Dalton.
Should be
I
Kincaid.
hate him.
Kincaid's the most.
He's getting double teamed.
He is. I mean, definitely.
Well, against Miami, it was looking like he was going to be.
Oh, they were just-
set for success.
They also just fucking went
And
up
they
like
started
20
smoking
points.
them.
in the
Tua
first
started
quarter.
throwing ducks.
The game versus the Cardinals, I give him a pass.
Yeah, okay. I have Buffalo. This is no thought process for me. This is another team I will be picking 17 times out of the year. So that's all I have to
Yeah,
say.
Three
I got-
teams,
I got
17
Buff- I
times
got
or two?
Buffalo
Who's
too.
3?
Did you choose the Texans? Are you going
I
Texans
can't
17
because
now?
they played
They played
the
Buffalo
Bills.
in a couple
Ah,
weeks.
okay. Fair enough.
Jacksonville just doesn't make shit easy for Trevor Lawrence. It's really tough to watch, especially when you look at these
I'll
weapons.
say this. Doug is getting fired if they lose this game.
Week 3.
No, not against the Bills.
Doug Peterson is getting
You
fired.
get fired against losing the Bills.
He's gonna
You
get fired. I don't
for
think it's
losing
after
against
the
the Bills.
He has done an abysmal
He
job
has.
of coaching this football team.
Wholeheartedly agree.
And to come into this season, and I could be wrong, but they will. The fans will definitely be
It's gonna get
calling for
loud.
his. Like,
I
it's
mean, it's
going
already
to get.
getting- it's getting a
no,
little
it's going to
noisy.
get through the roof because this is a team in Jacksonville that's kind of owned Josh Allen in his career. I think they have a winning record against him or some shit like that. They played him really well.
They beat them last year.
Yeah, and I think they beat him 2 years prior to that. This is a team that just looks lost. Their play calling is lost. Their offense is lost. The offensive line has not gotten better. The defense is banged up. I mean, Doug Peterson is just not calling a good game. He's aggressive at the wrong times. He's just not calling a good game. And you go in here, you're 0-2. This is a team that thought they'd be much better than what they was. They lost to Cleveland where they mustered. They had 16 yards through like 3 quarters or some shit like that. Like, Trevor was not playing good. That offense could not get nothing going. Against Miami, they blew it. If they go into this game right here and it's either an ass whooping like what they did to Miami or they just lose this game, he may not get fired. But that is already loud. It's going to get really loud. I'm thinking like Playboy Cardi concert, like Travis Scott like calls an earthquake type vibe. Like, it's going to get that type of
I do think Buffalo has a real chance of just smoking them. And if you're looking at week 1, you choke against Miami. And after that fumble, you mentioned it, he was just super conservative. They had 1 pass attempt in those last 2 or 3 offensive possessions. Then week 2 against Deshaun Watson and the Browns, you score, what was it, fucking
12?
10 points?
Is it 12 points?
18. It was like 18
had
to
a
12.
fucking safety.
And then week 3, potentially, you're going to go out and Buffalo just looks like such a dominant team. Who knows? It could be a 21-20 nail biter, but the way these two teams are going, it looks like Buffalo.
Since that fumble, they've just been completely outplayed and dominated from that moment on.
You can't choke a win away, look disgustingly bad against the Browns, and then get blown out back to back to back and not expect your job to get called.
The last game, Commanders versus the Bengals. The Bengals are 7.5-point favorites.
Lock of the week.
Bounce back game.
Cincinnati Bengals. There's absolutely no chance in hell that Cincinnati loses to the Washington Commanders. There's no way. They need to.
There's no way.
They need to win. They're 0-2. This is your get-right game. The Commanders should have lost last week on their home turf. Stamp it. This is a blowout win as well.
Cincinnati,
we
too.
see T. Higgins should be playing in this game, was limited in practice. I think we see Jamar Chase go absolutely berserk. Joe Burrow's best game of the season, even though he played pretty well against the Chiefs. I think we see a light show from Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Daniel Jones light up the Commanders. Malik Neighbors had his best career day, his second game of the season, 10-plus receptions, 100-plus yards.
The game losing.
So I think Jamar Chase is going to have a big game. I think now getting T. Higgins into this offense healthy is a breath of fresh air. And it's not the only person. B.J. Hill is now questionable for this game. Armarius Mims, their rookie right tackle. Chris Jenkins, their rookie defensive tackle that they took in the second round. The Bengals are starting to get healthier, and this is the time to get it. Desperation mode 0-2. They need those reinforcements, and they just signed Lawrence Guy, a former Patriot, to just add a body on that defensive line. So I think the Bengals win. That's also my lock of the week.
First down.
Oh, yeah? Oh, hell yeah, baby.
Nice little 6-yard rush.
Who?
Gang. Rodgers. Bengals should win easy.
1 rush yard more.
Locked. Locked. Second play of the game.
We're finishing this podcast right as the game starts. I think there's it's like 12 minutes in the first quarter right now?
Yeah, game just started.
And if I didn't have to clean up that water, we'd probably been done before the...
No, 100%. So let's get into it. Rapid fire. Week 3 NFL predictions. Last week, a lot of upsets we did not see coming. We all had a terrible record. But as you guys now know, these pick'ems are for the championship.
That's facts.
This is important. This means something to us. First game, the Patriots versus the Jets Thursday Night Football.
I'm going with the Jets.
I'm taking the upset. Give me the Pats.
Go Jets.
I got the New York Jets in this one. The Bears versus the Colts.
I am taking Chicago in this one.
Colts offense has looked stinky. Give me the Bears.
Bounce back game for Caleb. Bears win.
Caleb Williams looks like a superstar in this game. 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. Book it. Bears win on the road. Eagles versus the Saints.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Nah, I'm taking the Saints. They've looked way too good.
Saints look like the best team in football. Give me the Saints.
Saints are cutting off those Eagles when they ain't flying. No way, no how. They're going to smack them up. I got the Saints winning at home comfortably. Packers versus the Titans.
Give me Tennessee.
Regardless, whether it's Love or Malik, I think the Packers are just better.
Give me the Titans if it's Malik Willis playing. If it's Jordan Love, though, go Pack.
Bad caveat.
Give me the Green Bay Packers. Matt LaFleur, this defense, they're ready to play. They'll win. Did you make your pick?
Yeah, bro. I'll go first.
Oh, my bad. I thought Drew went first for some reason. Okay, next game, the Texans versus the Vikings.
I am going to take C.J. Stroud in this one.
I'm taking one of the hottest teams in the league. Give me the Skull Nation.
I think the Texans get it done.
With all due respect to the Vikings, I think that's a great upset pick. I'm going with the Texans on the road with C.J. Stroud. Great defense. I got them winning this game. Next game, the Chargers versus the Steelers.
I am going to take Justin Field in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, Yinzers, we're here. The Chargers, they're showing that they're a fake squad.
Let's go Steelers, man. Love not team.
Two similar team identities. I'm going to go with the team that has the better quarterback. That's Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Give me the Chargers on the road. And also, the Steelers have not beat the Chargers at home since 2009. Just an obscure stat. Broncos versus the Buccaneers.
I am very comfortably taking Tampa Bay.
I swear I contemplated, but I couldn't contemplate that hard. Give me the Bucks.
It's the bake show.
Shake and bake, going with the Buccaneers.
Shake and bake.
Dolphins versus the Seahawks.
I am going with Geno this game, man.
Yeah, give me Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle wins against Skylar Thompson.
The Seahawks have a terrible resume against backup quarterbacks.
Choose
but
Miami.
with no Tua, the Seahawks should win this game. I got the Seahawks winning at home. Panthers versus the Raiders.
This is very easily for me. Max Crosby and the Raiders.
Andy Dalton probably gives them a better chance to win this game, but not that good of a chance. Give me the Raiders.
Raiders.
Pro Bowl quarterback Gardner Minshew is leading the NFL in completion percentage at 77.5%. He was a Pro Bowler last year. Check his resume. Pro Bowler last year. Led the Colts to 9-8. Give me the Raiders. Next game up, the Ravens versus the Cowboys.
I changed my pick. I'm going with CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys.
So wait, you're going back to the Cowboys?
You double switched?
I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. Pardon me.
I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. They need it more. It's
The
simple.
Ravens can't go 0-3. Lamar won't go 0-3. Give me both.
What if he
Right
does?
now, the Ravens are allowing the most explosive plays in the NFL. They have the 32nd pass defense in terms of yards allowed against the pass. They have been abysmal. Their defense has not been on the same page. I'm going with the Cowboys at home to beat the Ravens, and Ravens fall to 0-3. The 49ers versus the Rams.
I am easily going with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I'm taking the team that's not banged up to hell, even though, ironically enough, they are. I'm still going to take the Niners.
Yeah, 49ers should dominate this game.
I got the 49ers.
Big cock Brock.
Lions versus the Cardinals.
I am going with upset of the week for me and my brother. Give us Arizona.
Listen, we always have our one. We were a kick away from being right with New England. Give me the Cardinals.
I think the Lions bounce back when on the road.
Lions 1 for 7 in the red zone last week. Jared Goff 2 interceptions. I think he has a bounce back game, and the Lions win on the road. Chiefs versus the Falcons Sunday Night Football.
I am taking Mahomes.
I'm taking the Chiefs, sadly.
Yeah, Chiefs should win this game.
I'm riding with Mahomes. Now, next game
You're
up.
riding Mahomes?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Now, next game. Jaguars versus the Bills.
Oh, I'm taking Josh Allen over anybody.
Not thinking about this even a little bit. Give me the Bills.
Give me the Bills.
For some reason, the Jaguars always play the Bills right, but they're such a mess right now, and I can't bet against the Bills. Give me the Bills winning. And last game of the slate, Commanders versus the Bengals.
I'll take Cincinnati easily.
Lock of the week. Cincinnati wins.
Hopefully, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase finally have a good game. Will it be this week?
Yes, it will. 100%. Do you think it's going to be this week? You're asking the question.
It better be.
Okay, I got the Bengals. Joe Burrow, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he has that explosive of a game and come back when after all the games have ended. Week 3 predictions, that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick a Side podcast. Week 3 NFL Pick'em predictions. We had a great vintage Riv. Just ran.
Crash
I
out.
love it. I love it.
I can't. I'm trying NFL. I'm trying to be more peaceful. It's just,
No. You fucking tweet.
And that's going to do it. We're going to record tomorrow. NBA Eastern Conference predictions / preview. Just going to do that to get the NBA content fixed in. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at PickAsidePod, on Instagram and TikTok at PickAsidePodcast, and we'll see you guys next time.